Hey, sister friend. Oh my gosh, am I so glad to talk with you today. We are diving in to 7 different ways that you can break the cycle of good girl syndrome. I don't know about you, but I grew up in an environment of always wanting to be good. This leads to never ending desires to be perfect, to be right, to achieve all the things. And it does nothing but contribute to disordered eating patterns and behaviors. So today we're going to talk about 7 different ways that you can break the cycle. Here we go. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess trapped in the destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it so you can start living your best life as your best self. Welcome to today's episode of the Her Best Self podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Nickel, and today we're diving into something that affects so many, particularly women and girls, but often it goes super unrecognized and it goes unaddressed. We're talking about what psychologists sometimes call good girl syndrome. And sis, if you have never heard of this, then today's episode is going to blow your mind because the patterns of people pleasing and perfectionism contribute to disordered eating. But before we begin, I just wanted to invite you, friend, if you are currently struggling with controlling your food, with controlling your exercise, with over-exercise, with food restriction, with constantly thinking about when you can eat next, with constantly thinking about what you can eat next, and you're so done of living in your own mind, then I'm here for you. If you're interested in stopping this madness for good, I cannot wait to partner with you because I am taking clients right now for the spring and opening up the doors for that. And so we can partner together weekly, one-on-one, me and you, going out to my website, herbestself.co. You can fill out a client application right on the website, and I will contact you for a client call, and we will get to work. You do not need to do this alone. First, I want to define for you today good girl syndrome. What exactly is good girl syndrome? While it is not an official clinical diagnosis, I was literally listening to Rachel Hollis's brand new book that came out recently, and she talks about this good girl syndrome, and it got me thinking, wow, this term describes a common pattern where we're often feeling compelled as a female and obviously as a human being, but predominantly you're listening here and you're a female, and welcome sis, love you girl, but where you have everybody else's expectations ahead of yourself. You avoid conflict, you're trying to achieve perfectionism, you're prioritizing other people's needs above your own, like your kids, your husband, your friends. I want you to think about it. From a young age, girls are praised for being helpful, for being quiet, for being accommodating, and for putting other people first. I don't know, but I look back and I literally remember my grandmother saying to me, "You're such a good girl." And this became a powerful reward. And over time, this praise, it creates a pattern where self-worth becomes tied to external validation and meeting others' expectations. And that's exactly what happened in my own life. The good girl mentality, it includes behaviors that eventually make it so hard to say no to people. Or maybe you find yourself excessively apologizing to people when you mess up, or you have this really huge fear of disappointing everyone in your life. You are perfect in all the things that you do, or at least you strive for that in work and your appearance and in your behavior. And you're constantly suppressing your own needs and feelings, and you don't even realize it half the time. This seeking of external validation, this avoiding conflict at all different costs, this taking on excessive responsibilities, saying yes when you'd rather say no. Sis, while these traits seem super admirable on the surface, and I know that my Nana in heaven is loving this episode, but they create an unsustainable standard that can lead to chronic stress, burnout, anxiety, depression, and of course, eating disorders and disordered eating patterns. So how does the good girl mentality connect to disordered eating? And the link is really surprisingly direct. So when your self-worth is tied to that validation and meeting impossible standards, your body often becomes another arena for control and perfection. The pursuit of the perfect body, it just feels like another checkbox on an endless list of ways to be good enough. And if you're caught in the cycle, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But food and your eating actually become moral issues to you. And you get so super passionate. In fact, when you watch other people eat something, it literally disgusts you. Because in your mind, certain foods are good or clean, while other foods are bad or no way I'm touching that. Restriction becomes another form of discipline, friend, and it becomes your number one way to control. Another way to prove that you're good. I literally look back in time and my mom had me in cotillion, like I was the only child. Again, I've shared a bunch of my story, but I look back on how this contributed to always wanting to have arrived, to always wanting to feel on top of the world, superiority, that good girl mentality. It was like cross your legs and poke your chest forward and make sure that your hands are sitting on your lap. And it just reminded me as I started prepping for today's show, the ways that this manifests and what it does as a child into adult life and why it's so linked to eating disorders. The black and white thinking about food, sis, think about this. Just as the good little girl sees herself as either succeeding or failing, food becomes categorized as either perfectly healthy or completely off limits. If you're using food as a reward system, I was so good today, so I can do this later, or I wasn't as productive as I should have been, and I didn't get my workout in, so I don't deserve to eat that for dinner. I don't deserve to eat dinner at all. This is where perfectionism about body image enters. The body just becomes another project to perfection. It becomes seen as any flaw is a problem, and it's actually a moral failure if you're here. Your inability to listen to hunger cues, this is another way this manifests. Just as the good little girl ignores her own needs in other areas of her life, she also will override her physical hunger cues to maintain control and that feeling of superiority. And think about this one. If you're using a restriction as self-punishment, this manifests because maybe when you feel like you're unable to meet impossible standards in other areas of your life, restricting becomes a way to regain control. It becomes a way to set that discipline on yourself. It's a self-punishment. You're constantly compensating with your behaviors, exercising to earn food, or to make up for bad eating, or I'll just have a cheat meal on Sunday. This follows the same pattern of trying to be good enough. But the cruel irony, sis, is that while these behaviors might be temporarily providing this sense of control for your life or giving you that virtue that you're looking for, they ultimately disconnect you from your body's actual needs. They ultimately disconnect you in understanding your own emotions and actually who you are as your own self, your true identity. But we can't talk about good girl syndrome without acknowledging the cultural messages that reinforce its existence in the first place. Our society often praises women for self-sacrifice, while simultaneously pushing impossible beauty standards on us. I was actually in the grocery store in line the other night, and I was looking at the magazines and looking at the magazine covers that are celebrating celebrities who got their body back mere weeks after giving birth. If you scroll on Instagram, you're gonna see these wellness influencers who present restrictive eating as self-care rather than self-control. Says these messages create the perfect mixology or the perfect storm where being a good woman means both perfect achievement and perfect appearance. And if you're not doing both of those things, you're failing. This is so flawed. It is so flawed. But the diet industry, it thrives on this flaw, and it sells the idea that controlling your body is a moral virtue, and that being thin means that you are disciplined and put together, and being disciplined and put together is being a good girl. And this message is so flipping dangerous because it is continuously promoting disordered behaviors and disguising them as health and wellness. And I mean, who doesn't want to be healthy, right? So I want you to think about how you can start breaking this cycle in your own life. Because not only is this problematic for you listening to the show right now because you struggle with an eating disorder or disordered eating, but it's problematic for generations around you. So if you have a daughter, if you have a friend, if you are an aunt, if you are a mom, like wherever your role is, it starts with you. But in order to break this cycle, it starts with true awareness. And then it needs to go deeper than that. Number one, I want you to recognize the pattern. I want you to notice when you're falling into this good girl category. It's so hard to recognize these things about ourselves because they've just developed over time and over time with consistent behaviors over time. The good thing about that is that they were learned and they can be unlearned. But are you saying yes when you want to say no to things? Like, are you ignoring your own needs on the regular? Are you compartmentalizing foods as good and bad? And then I want you to challenge your black and white thinking. What would it look like to live in the gray areas in your life where food wasn't good and food wasn't bad? It was just food. Sis, food is a basic right. It is a basic right, and you don't have to earn it. You didn't do anything wrong, and you aren't perfect or failing. You're just human, and it's just food. Another way to break the cycle, step number 3, is practice those boundaries. Okay, I want you to start small by saying no in minor ways. Okay, and then notice that discomfort that comes up for you and that coping mechanism that you want to turn to. And remind yourself that others' disappointments are not your responsibility. Let them, sis, so that you can do you and recover. And that has nothing to do with being selfish, except with the fact that selfish in this instance is actually benefiting everyone in your life. It's okay sometimes to put yourself first and be selfish. Number 4, work on self-compassion. I want you to talk to yourself the way you would talk to that sister, that daughter, that friend. Would you tell me that I don't deserve to eat because I made a mistake or I didn't get up early and go to the gym? Would you tell me that I don't deserve to eat? Probably not, right? Number 5, I want you to connect with your body's signals. And I know that this is super hard when you're navigating years and decades of an eating disorder where you have totally cut off those signals from your mind. So you really do not know when you're hungry or full. In fact, you have totally suppressed those signals. That's okay. We can start small. And this is the value of coaching and working with somebody that knows what they're talking about and that has been there and done that. But it's practicing mindful eating, okay? And creating some intention around your eating. I want you to think about not choosing something based upon what you've always had or being very routine oriented based upon what you should eat. But think about something that you would prefer to eat or possibly use it as an experimental process to try on some preferences for you. This is super important, and it's something that we work together in one-on-one because you want to make sure that you're not triggering yourself into restriction mode. Number 6, redefine what it looks like to succeed in your life. I want you to create your own definition of success, sis, that isn't based solely on achievement, appearance, or anyone else's approval of you. I'm going to say that again. I want you to create your own definition of success that has nothing to do about somebody else's opinion or what they think about you. Number 7, invest in yourself, friend, and get support. The problem with the crazy statistics and working through eating disorders is that 60% of women recover, but only a third get support. And so I want you to think about, how am I not going to be somebody who sits here and tries to do it myself? This is not something that you can do alone. And I feel like I literally preach at you when I say that week after week, episode after episode. But it is so important that you are getting and investing in yourself so that you can conquer this perfectionism, so that you can conquer this people pleasing, so that you can conquer what it looks like to live life free of all of it. As we wrap up today, friend, I just want to emphasize that breaking free from this good girl mentality and this good girl syndrome isn't about selfishness or abandoning responsibility in your own life. It's actually the opposite. It's about finding balance. It's about being your true self, being authentic, and about making choices from a place of self-respect rather than out of fear or out of obligation. Sis, your journey isn't going to be about achieving yet another form of perfection and arriving at recovery. It's actually going to be all about how you can work with you to develop a new relationship with yourself, with your body, where your food and your exercise, where your worth isn't conditional on achievement, appearance, or what anyone else thinks of you. So love, if you're struggling with your eating disorder today, if you are a chronic people pleaser, I want you to remember that you deserve a life where food is nourishment, not punishment, where food is nourishment, not a reward, and where your value isn't measured by how much you please others or how good of a girl you are. Thank you, friend, for listening to today's episode. If you found this one helpful, can you share it with someone who might benefit? And if you're looking for that one-on-one level of support, come on out to the website, herbestself.co. Can't wait to meet you and learn about you. Be kind to yourself and think about how this episode applies to your life this week. I encourage you to pick one of these different steps, bare minimum, and recognize the patterns. Challenge that black and white thinking. Practice setting a boundary for yourself. Work on that self-compassion. Connect with what your body's needs are and redefine success, as well as seek some support for yourself. If you do one of those 7 things, you're a rock star. I believe in you, and I am so happy and honored that you spent time today to listen to my show. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.